Have you ever felt like you were meant to hear something right now? Like something bigger than yourself is trying to get your attention? This isn't a coincidence. This moment, this message, it's not random. You didn't just stumble across this video by chance. God led you here. So I want you to pause whatever else you're doing, because what you're about to hear could be the turning point you've been praying for. This is more than encouragement. This is a divine wake-up call. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, your perspective could completely change. You see, what you're hearing right now, it's not just another inspirational talk. It's a revelation. And if that word sounds too big or too religious, let me put it simply. This is God speaking to your heart in a way you can finally hear. Something powerful is stirring in the spiritual realm, whether you've noticed the signs or not. Some people call it intuition. Others call it gut feeling. But I call it what it really is. God's Spirit gently knocking on the door of your soul. Pause for reflection, draw audience and emotionally. Maybe you've been feeling restless lately. Maybe you've sensed that something is shifting in your life, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Relationships feel different. Old habits no longer satisfy. The things that used to give you peace now leave you empty. Sound familiar? That's not your imagination. That's a sign that something greater is at work behind the scenes. It's the beginning of a new chapter, and it starts today. Spoken with confidence. Introduce divine messengers. Now, listen closely. God is sending 2 messengers your way. Not 1, 2. And that's not a number to ignore. In Scripture, 2 means confirmation. It means truth is being established. It means that what's about to happen in your life will not be missed, not by you or anyone around you. These messengers aren't angels with wings and halos. They might show up in unexpected ways. A conversation that hits deeper than expected. A new connection that feels divine. Or a moment of clarity that changes your direction. They are God's way of getting your attention, because what's coming carries spiritual weight. Share perspective. Connect with viewer personally. You might be wondering, why now? Why me? Well, let me ask you this. Have you been asking for a sign? Crying out quietly in your heart when no one else is around? Wondering if God still sees you, still hears you? He does. He has. And this moment is His answer. You've been walking through storms, carrying silent battles, smiling on the outside but breaking inside. And through all of it, God was watching. He never left, not once. And now He's saying, "My child, it's time." This isn't a message to swipe past. This isn't background noise while you multitask. This is sacred ground, right here in your everyday life. And I'm here to tell you, don't ignore this sign. Because when God speaks, especially like this, it's for a reason. And it's almost always because something is about to change. So don't scroll away. Don't check out. There's more coming in this message. And what's ahead might be the very thing your soul has been waiting for. So here's what I want you to do. Stay with me. Listen until the end. Not because of me, but because of what God is about to reveal to you. Ask yourself, what if this is the answer to the prayer you whispered last night? What if this is the divine interruption you didn't know you needed? Because friend, when God speaks, it's never to waste your time. It's to awaken your purpose. In just a moment, we're going to talk about what those 2 messengers really represent and how your life might already be intersecting with them. But first, take a deep breath, because you're not here by mistake. You're here by design. Let's keep going. Let me ask you something real. Have you been feeling like something around you is off lately? Like the world hasn't changed, but somehow you have? You're not imagining it. It's not anxiety. It's not a midlife crisis. It's a spiritual shift. Something inside you is starting to stir. And that stirring, that discomfort, that inner pull, it's not random. It's God knocking on the door of your heart. Think back on the past few weeks, maybe even the past few months. Have there been moments that didn't quite make sense? Like suddenly the things that used to bring you joy now feel empty. The plans you made don't seem to fit anymore. You're showing up in the same places with the same people, but it all feels different. That's not a coincidence. That's God moving behind the scenes, stirring your spirit to wake up to something greater. I remember a time in my own life when everything looked normal on the outside. I had the routine, the responsibilities, the relationships. But deep inside, I felt this invisible nudge, like something was trying to break through my comfort zone and speak to me. At first, I ignored it. I thought, maybe I'm just tired, maybe I'm overthinking. But the signs didn't stop. In fact, they got louder. Until one day, I couldn't deny it anymore. And maybe that's where you are right now. You see, some of the signs you're seeing, they're actually answers to the very prayers you whispered in silence. Those moments when you cried out to God late at night. When you asked, Lord, are you even listening? When you begged for a sign, just something to show you He's still there. This is it. This message, this moment, this is the answer you've been waiting for. But here's the thing most people miss. When the answer comes, it rarely looks the way we expected. And that's why I'm here to tell you this. Don't ignore the signs. God doesn't always shout. More often than not, He whispers through discomfort, through restlessness, through things falling apart just enough to make you stop and ask, what's happening? He shakes what's no longer serving you. He closes doors that lead nowhere. He removes people who were never meant to go with you into your next chapter. It might feel like loss, but it's actually alignment. It's God redirecting you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. So let me ask you, what have you been trying to force that no longer flows? What doors have you been pounding on that stay closed, no matter how hard you try? What relationships, habits, or mindsets have started to feel heavy instead of healing? Could it be that those very things are God's way of getting your attention? Could it be that the very discomfort you're trying to escape is actually your breakthrough in disguise? This isn't the time to run from the stirring. This is the time to lean in, to pause, to listen, and to stay open. Because God is moving. And if your soul has been feeling unsettled, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because something is awakening in you. So here's what I'm asking of you today. Don't rush past this moment. Don't dismiss the signs as coincidence. Ask God, Lord, what are you showing me right now? And then watch, listen, and be willing to receive what He says. He's already started the conversation. Now it's your move. In the next part of this video, we're going to explore who the two messengers are, the very ones God is sending your way in this season, and why recognizing them could change the entire direction of your life. So stay with me, because the moment you start to pay attention to what God is doing is the moment your entire life begins to shift. If you've ever cried yourself to sleep, if you've ever smiled on the outside while breaking on the inside, if you've ever wondered, does anyone truly see me? Then let me tell you something that could change the way you see everything. God saw every single moment. The tears no one else noticed, the pain you try to hide, the battles you fought in silence. He was there, and He still is. You see, one of the enemy's most dangerous lies is this. You're alone. You've been forgotten. God doesn't care anymore. But let me remind you, when no one else was watching, God was. When your knees hit the floor and words failed you. When you whispered prayers you weren't sure He could hear. He heard. He felt. He stayed. You may not have seen Him, but that doesn't mean He wasn't near. Sometimes His silence isn't absence, it's strategy. It's protection, preparation, timing. Now, I know this might be hard to hear, but what's coming next in your life may not look like what you expected, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes we ask for relief, and God gives us refining. We ask for escape, and He gives us endurance. We pray for open doors, but He builds inner strength first. It doesn't mean He's ignoring you. It means He's giving you exactly what you need to carry the blessing when it arrives. Think about it. How many times have you begged for something to happen? A job, a relationship, a breakthrough. And when it didn't come, you thought God had forgotten you. But months or years later, you look back and say, thank God that didn't work out. That's not just hindsight. That's proof of divine love. Because God isn't interested in just giving you what feels good now. He's committed to what's best for you long term. I don't know what season you're in right now. Maybe you're worn out. Maybe you've been holding it all together while silently falling apart. Maybe faith feels distant and hope feels fragile. But I want you to hear this loud and clear. God has not left you. Not for a moment. Not ever. Even in the moments when it felt like the heavens were silent. He was moving. He was working. He was aligning people, opportunities, protection behind the scenes. But here's the danger. In seasons of silence, the enemy whispers loudest. He'll tell you that nothing will ever change, that hope is foolish, that faith is wasted. He'll say, don't get your hopes up, it'll only hurt again. But you can't afford to listen to that voice, because the enemy is a liar. What ahead might not come in the form you expected, but carries the power to shift everything. And that's why you can't tune this out. Not now. Not when you're this close. The truth is, sometimes what you think you want would actually hold you back. But what God knows you need will set you free. That's why you're here. Not to be entertained, not a pastime, but because God is speaking to you right now. And what you do with this moment could alter your path forward. So don't let doubt steal this moment. Don't let fear silence the voice of faith within you. You come too far. You've endured too much. And God didn't bring you here just to leave you in the middle. He has a purpose. He has a plan. And even if it's not what you pictured, it's exactly what your soul has been waiting for. So take a breath. Let go of the panic. And dare to believe again. Because in the next part of this message, we're going deeper into what it really means when God says, I'm sending 2 messengers to guide you. These messengers carry more than comfort. They carry confirmation, direction, and answers to the very prayers you thought went unheard. So don't stop here. Stay with me, because the next few minutes might just change everything. What if the answer you've been waiting for already showed up in your life, just not in the way you expected? What if the breakthrough you've been praying for isn't coming through a miracle in the sky, but through 2 very real, very human messengers walking right into your path? You see, God moves in mysterious ways, but never without purpose. And today, I want to talk to you about those 2 messengers He promised to send. Because when they arrive, it won't just be a conversation. It could be your divine turning point. Let's get one thing straight. These 2 messengers are not random people. They're not showing up by coincidence. They're not here to fill space in your life. They are signs, living, breathing evidence of God's love, direction, and timing. When God sends messengers, they don't just carry words. They carry confirmation, correction, and often a choice. A choice you'll need to make. A decision that could define the next chapter of your life. Now here's the twist. They may not look the way you imagined. They may not speak in the way you thought they would. They might come in unexpected forms. A stranger with a kind word. A mentor with tough love. A friend who calls at just the right moment. Or even a new opportunity that doesn't make sense on paper, but feels right in your soul. Don't overlook the form. Because often we miss God's answers because they come wrapped in packages we don't like. Remember how often God used unexpected vessels in Scripture? Moses was a stutterer. David was a shepherd boy. Mary was a young girl. The disciples were fishermen, not theologians. But all were used to deliver divine messages and change history. So what makes us think the messengers God sends today have to fit our mold or expectations? They don't, because His ways are higher than ours. And when He sends 2 messengers, it's not just for comfort, it's for direction. So let me ask you this. Who in your life right now might be carrying a message from God? Who has been speaking truth that you've been too afraid or too busy to hear? Who keeps showing up, offering peace, warning, wisdom, but you've brushed them off because they didn't say it the way you wanted? Could it be that they are one of the two messengers God promised? And if that's true, what would change if you stopped resisting and started receiving? The truth is, these messengers won't wait forever. They've been sent for this exact season, for this specific moment in your life. If you ignore them, delay them, or shut them out, you could be closing the door to the very breakthrough you've been begging God for. You've been saying, God, show me what to do. Well, what if He already has? The question is no longer, is God speaking? The question is, are you listening? Let me share something personal with you. There was a time in my life when I was praying for clarity desperately. I asked God for a sign, a word, anything. A few days later, an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years reached out with a strange message. It didn't sound overly spiritual. It wasn't grand or dramatic, but it hit something deep in me, like it was written just for my soul. I could have ignored it, but something told me not to. And looking back, that message changed everything. That person was one of my messengers. So today, I'm urging you, be watchful, be open, be humble enough to receive, even if the message comes in a way that challenges your pride or expectations. Because the two messengers God sends into your life aren't just there to comfort you. They're there to redirect you, strengthen you, and prepare you for what's coming next. And what's next is too important to miss. In the next part of this video, we're going to talk about why doubt is the enemy's greatest weapon, and how it robs people of the very blessing they've already received. So if you've ever struggled to believe, if you've ever wrestled with fear, second-guessing, or hesitation, you do not want to miss what's coming, because clarity is closer than you think, and your next step might already be in front of you. What if the greatest enemy of your breakthrough isn't your past, isn't your circumstances, but your own doubt? What if the thing holding you back from stepping into God's best isn't that the opportunity isn't there, but that you're too afraid to trust it? Let me be real with you. Right now, you're standing at crossroads, and the decision you make in this moment, right here, right now, could change the rest of your life. Don't scroll past this. Don't brush it off like just another message, because what you're about to hear could be the difference between regret and release, between staying stuck and stepping into purpose, between wondering what if and finally seeing what is. There comes a time in every person's life when God brings them to a defining moment, a moment when the path forward is not always clear. But the pull inside you says this matters. This is sacred. This is now. And maybe, just maybe, this is your moment. You've been asking for direction. You've been praying for a sign. You've been hoping for clarity. Well, here it is. But here's the hard truth. Even divine answers can be drowned out by fear. I know what it feels like to doubt, to hear a word from God and wonder, is this really Him? To feel that nudge in your spirit and still hesitate, because your mind screams louder than your faith. That's not weakness. That's human. But faith has never been about having no doubt. It's about choosing to move in spite of it. There was a time in my life when I felt God calling me to do something bold, something uncomfortable. Every logical voice told me not to. People around me said, it's too risky. What if it doesn't work out? But deep in my soul, I knew if I didn't take that step, I'd regret it forever. So I moved. I chose faith over fear, and it led me into a new season I could have never reached by playing it safe. You need to know something. God is not the author of confusion. He doesn't tease your heart with possibility just to walk away. When He opens a door, it's because He intends for you to walk through it. But here's the catch. He won't force you. He'll show you the path. But it's up to you to take the step. That's what faith is. It's not certainty, it's trust. So let me ask you, are you going to let fear talk you out of the future God is drawing for you? Will you look back one day and say, I almost believed, I almost stepped out, but I let doubt stop me because opportunities don't last forever. Sometimes God brings them for an appointed time. And when that time passes, it doesn't come again the same way. This might be that time. God is drawing a new path for you. He's not just asking you to believe in it. He's asking you to walk in it. Even if your knees shake, even if you don't have all the answers, even if your mind is still racing with what ifs. Because here's what I've learned. Every great move of God begins with a trembling yes. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing. God doesn't need your strength. He just needs your surrender. So take a breath, take a step, say yes to the path in front of you, and trust that if God brought you this far, He's not leaving you now. In the next part of this message, we'll talk about what it really means to live like someone who trusts God fully, not just on Sunday mornings, but in every decision, every challenge, every unknown. Because faith isn't just something you believe, it's something you live. So don't go anywhere. The next step of your journey starts now. Have you ever looked back on a moment in your life and thought, I didn't understand it then, but now I see what God was doing? That's the beauty and the challenge of walking by faith. Because when we're in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the unanswered prayers, the closed doors, the heartbreak, it's hard to believe there's purpose in the pain. But what if I told you every tear, every delay, every no from God was actually part of something greater? In Jeremiah 29, verse 11, God speaks a truth that has echoed through centuries. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Let that sink in for a second. He knows the plan, even when we don't, even when we're hurting, even when it feels like nothing makes sense. We've all had moments where we felt forgotten, moments when doors slammed in our faces, relationships ended, jobs were lost, opportunities fell through. And our first reaction is often, why God? Why now? Why me? But here's the truth I've learned. God's no is never rejection, it's redirection. Think about it this way. If God had given you every single thing you asked for, would you have learned how to trust Him when things didn't go your way? Would your faith have grown? Would you have developed the strength, the character, and the clarity you have today? Sometimes the door closed not because you failed, but because God was protecting you from walking into something that wasn't aligned with your purpose. He sees what you can't. He knows what you don't. And because He loves you, He withholds what looks good now to make room for what is best later. So the next time you face disappointment, I challenge you to pause and ask, what might God be doing that I can't see yet? Maybe He's not denying you. Maybe He's developing you. Maybe He's not ignoring your prayer. Maybe He's preparing you to carry what you're asking for, without it crushing you. Let me remind you of this. God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't leave you wounded without healing. He doesn't let you walk through fire unless He intends to refine something precious in you. Every setback, every delay, every detour, they're not random. They're sacred pieces of a bigger picture. We often think God's plan will always feel good. That His will is smooth, comfortable, convenient. But what if I told you God's best for your life might stretch you before it blesses you? What if the growth, the breakthrough, the clarity you're searching for is hidden inside the very struggle you're trying to escape? What feels like the end might actually be the beginning. So today, instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, God, what are you trying to teach me through this? Instead of resenting the delay, thank Him for His protection. Instead of fearing the unknown, trust that His plan is not just good, it's tailor-made for you. You are not forgotten. You're not off track. You are not being punished. You're being positioned. God's hands are still on your life. His heart is still for you, and His plan is still unfolding, even when you can't see it. So hold on, hold faith, and believe that the very thing you thought was a setback might actually be your setup for something far beyond what you imagine. In the next part of this message, we're going to talk about how God never changes, even when everything else in your life does. His faithfulness yesterday is the proof you need for today and the hope you need for tomorrow. So stay with me, because your journey isn't over. It's just getting started. Can I remind you of something today? God has not changed. Not because he's distant, not because he's unaware of what you're going through, but because he's consistent. He's steady. He's faithful. The same God who brought you through that dark season. The same God who lifted you when you thought you couldn't go on. The same God who opened doors no one else could is still right here, still working, still loving, still moving. Scripture says he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13 verse 8. That means his power hasn't weakened. His love hasn't grown cold. And his promises haven't expired. Maybe life around you is changing fast. Relationships, health, finances, even your emotions may be on a roller coaster. But God, he hasn't moved. Imagine being in a boat during a violent storm. Waves crashing, winds howling, visibility gone. Everything is chaos, except for one thing. The anchor. That anchor holds you steady when nothing else makes sense. That's who God is. In a world full of shifting values, broken promises, and sudden change, God is your anchor. And no matter how fierce the storm gets, he will not let you drift away. But let's be honest, when life gets overwhelming, it's easy to forget, isn't it? We remember the pain more than the provider. We focus on the pressure more than the presence. We carry the weight ourselves, thinking, if I don't fix this, who will? And somewhere along the way, we stop trusting the very God who's never failed us. But here's what I want you to know deep in your heart. You were never meant to carry this burden alone. You don't have to be the strong one all the time. You don't have to pretend you're okay when you're breaking inside. You don't have to figure everything out, because God didn't ask you to fix it. He asked you to bring it to him. So let me ask you, what are you carrying right now that you were never meant to? Is it anxiety about the future? Guilt about the past? Stress over something you can't control? What if, instead of carrying it, you handed it to the one who's held you through every hard season before? What if today was the day you said, God, I trust you with this. I'm tired of holding on my own. Jesus said in Matthew 11 verse 28, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That wasn't a suggestion. That was an invitation. If your soul is tired, if your heart is heavy, if you've been trying to carry things that are too much for one person, then it's time to rest in him. Sometimes surrender doesn't look dramatic. It looks like a quiet prayer, a whisper in your heart, a moment where you stop and say, God, I know you haven't changed, so I'm going to stop pretending like I have to do this alone. Because if he healed you before, he can heal you again. If he provided before, he'll provide again. If he made a way before, he will absolutely do it again. So today, let this be your declaration. I will not let fear define me. I will not let circumstances shake me. I will trust in the one who never changes. Don't carry what was never yours to carry. Lay it down, leave it in God's hands, and walk into freedom that only his presence can bring. Because in the next part of this message, we'll talk about what happens when you finally let go, how God moves when you choose to trust, and how the impossible becomes possible in his hands. So stay with me. You're not alone on this journey, and the best is still ahead. Have you ever heard that quiet voice in your mind that says, there's no hope for you, nothing's going to change, God has forgotten you? Let me be clear, that voice is a lie. It's not from God. It's not from truth. It's from the enemy, whose greatest weapon is to get you to forget who you are and whose you are. But today, we're going to silence that lie with something stronger, God's voice. You see, the enemy doesn't always attack you with something obvious. He doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to discourage you. He wants to wear you down with doubt, drown you in worry, and isolate you in fear. He whispers things like, "You're not enough. God isn't listening. Your prayers don't matter. Your future is over." But listen, just because the enemy is speaking doesn't mean you have to agree. God has never called you to live in despair. He doesn't design confusion. He doesn't traffic in fear. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33 says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace." So if your thoughts are swirling with chaos and hopelessness, that's not God. That's the enemy trying to rewrite the truth in your mind. But the truth never changes. You're seen, you are loved, and you are not alone. Now, maybe right now, you can't see anything happening. You've been praying, waiting, trusting, and yet nothing looks different. But here's what you need to remember. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God isn't working. God does some of his greatest work in the unseen, like a seed buried underground. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's dead. It's growing. It's being prepared. It's being positioned for breakthrough. And that's exactly what God is doing with you. So let me ask you, what lie have you been believing lately? Is it that your mistakes disqualify you? That you've missed your chance? That it's too late for you? Because none of that is from God. God's word says he has plans to prosper you, not to harm you. He calls you chosen, redeemed, restored, not broken and forgotten. So don't let the voice of the enemy shape your identity. Let the voice of your Creator define you. You're not a leaf being blown aimlessly by life. You're not lost in the crowd. You're not overlooked or forgotten. You were designed with intentionality. Every breath, every gift, every moment you've survived up to this point has purpose. You have direction. You have calling. And even if you've lost sight of the map, God has not lost sight of you. When the enemy says, "There's no way," God says, "I am the way." When the enemy says, "You're not enough," God says, "My grace is sufficient for you." When the enemy says, "You're finished," God says, "I'm just getting started." You fight lies by holding on to truth. And truth is found not in your feelings, but in God's unchanging word. So today, make a decision. Don't agree with the lies anymore. Stop repeating what fear tells you. Stop rehearsing the worst-case scenarios. Start declaring what God already said about you. Because even when you don't feel strong, truth is stronger than emotion. And the truth is, God is for you. He's moving on your behalf. And your story is far from over. In the next part of this message, we're going to talk about how your faith, yes, even your small, shaken faith, can ignite a chain reaction of breakthrough when you finally let go and let God take control. So stay with me, because God's not done. He's still writing your story. And the next chapter is worth holding on for. What if the next breakthrough in your life doesn't depend on how much you know, but on how much you're willing to trust? What if the very thing you've been praying for, healing, direction, peace, is on the other side of a single step of faith? Let me tell you something that might change how you move forward. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to keep walking, even when you don't. Think about walking through heavy fog. You can't see 10 feet in front of you. You don't know what's up ahead. But with each step, the path becomes just a little clearer. That's what walking with God often feels like. You don't get the full picture at once. You get the next step and the faith to take it. Because real faith doesn't say, "Show me first." It says, "I'll go because I trust the one leading me." And let's be real. We live in a world that worships control. We're told to plan everything, to have backup plans for our backup plans, to never step unless we're 100% sure. But God operates differently. He doesn't always give us a GPS route. He gives us a promise. And if God has promised to lead you, then even the path that looks risky becomes the path of greatest reward. Maybe you've been standing on the edge of a decision, wondering, "God, is this you? Should I take the risk? What if I fall?" Can I tell you something? If he brought you this far, He didn't bring you to leave you here. Think about your life. Hasn't God already shown you what He can do? Hasn't He healed something in your past? Opened a door you thought was shut for good? Protected you when everything felt like it was falling apart? If He did it before, He will do it again. God isn't limited by time, by economy, or by statistics. He doesn't get nervous when things look uncertain. And He never asks you to walk by sight. He calls you to walk by faith. In 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7, we're reminded, "For we live by faith, not by sight." That means your next step isn't based on what you see, but on what you believe. And if you believe that God is good, that He is faithful, that He is with you, then your next step is not a risk. It's obedience. There was a moment in my life where I had to step out with no guarantee, no backup plan, just faith. I was scared, but I was also tired of standing still. So I stepped. And on the other side of that step was peace, clarity, and open doors I never could have imagined. Faith didn't make it easy, but it made it possible. So today, here's what I want you to hear loud and clear. It's time to move. It's time to stop waiting for perfect conditions. It's time to stop asking for signs when God has already spoken. It's time to stop letting fear run the show. Let go of the fear. Let go of the doubt. Let go of the weight you were never meant to carry. And step forward in faith. And as you move, remember, you're not walking into the unknown by yourself. God is already there, preparing the way, making a path, holding your hand through every single step. You may not feel ready, but you don't have to be, because He is. In the next part of this message, we're going to talk about why your journey still matters. No matter what you've lost, how tired you feel, or how far off track you think you've gone. Because God's not done with your story. He's just getting started. So take a deep breath, and let's keep walking together in faith. What if everything you've been praying for? What if all the silent cries, the late-night tears, the whispered questions were leading up to this very moment? What if this message wasn't just something you stumbled upon, but the very answer you've been asking God for? Because I need you to hear this clearly. This is not just another video. This is a divine invitation, a chance to change everything. Right now, you stand at the edge of something holy, not because everything around you is perfect, but because something inside you is awakening. You've heard the words, you've felt the stirring, and now, the question is simple. What are you going to do with it? This message isn't here to entertain you. It's here to remind you. You still have purpose. You still have power. And your story is not over. God is reaching out to you. Yes, with His hand extended. Not to scold, not to shame, but to say, let's walk this road together. This is your opportunity. This is your key. And more than anything, this could be the beginning of your turnaround. So what are you holding on to that's keeping you stuck? Is it fear, control, past regrets? What if you chose today to finally let go and take His hand? You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to say, God, I'm ready to trust you with what's next. Because sometimes breakthrough doesn't begin with change around you. It begins with a yes inside you. So I want to challenge you right now. Don't leave this moment unchanged. Don't scroll on and pretend this didn't hit something deep inside you. If something in your spirit is stirred, if you feel even a spark of hope rising, lean in, respond, pray, reach out, make a move of faith, however small. Because God's not finished. He's just getting started. And this is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your comeback. What's ahead may still feel uncertain. But the good news is you don't have to walk it alone. You don't have to carry the weight anymore. You don't have to navigate this life without direction. God is offering you guidance. He's offering peace. He's offering purpose. And more than anything, He's offering Himself. So take the step. Take the leap. Say yes. Because the best version of your life, it starts with one bold decision to trust Him. This is your moment. This is your open door. Don't let fear talk you out of the future God is calling you into. You've come this far. Now, take one more step forward, because this isn't the end of your story. It's only the beginning. If this message spoke to your heart, don't leave it here. Share it. Save it. Speak it over yourself. And most of all, walk it out with faith. Your destiny is calling. Will you answer?